If you manage devices for a living, you've probably seen the forum posts and, let's be honest, the massive amount of confusion surrounding Microsoft Intune's Autopilot versions. Well, today, in this explainer, we're diving straight into some great source material to uncover how device preparation actually works under the hood. We're going to clear up exactly what this new tool is, and, maybe more importantly, what it absolutely isn't. Okay, so let's address the massive elephant in the room right off the bat. It's got IT admins everywhere stressing out. The big question, is V2 here to kill off classic Autopilot? Because, just hearing the naming convention, version 1 and version 2, it kind of automatically makes you assume that the newer version is designed to completely replace the older one, right? It makes it sound like classic Autopilot is somehow half-baked or just on its way out the door.
But, as our source brilliantly highlights, the answer is a resounding no. They are not competitors fighting for the same spot. They're simply options designed for completely different scenarios. Actually, thinking of them as a sequential upgrade is just the wrong framework entirely. There are two totally distinct tools sitting in your IT tool belt, and knowing which one to reach for depends entirely on the specific environment you're deploying into.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the Autopilot version myth. Second, comparing classic and device prep. Third, setting up device preparation. Fourth, the end-user experience. And finally, speed versus certainty.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the Autopilot version myth. Our source reframes device preparation perfectly. You've kind of got to stop thinking of it as imaging a device before it even exists. Instead, it's more like a bouncer at the door, a method of gating access right during the user's sign-in. When a user enters their credentials, Intune dynamically drops that device into a secure group, applies the required apps, and literally blocks the user from seeing their desktop until those absolute basics are firmly in place. It's just a completely different philosophy from the traditional pre-registration methods we're used to.
Moving right along to Section 2, comparing classic and device prep.
We can clearly contrast these two approaches. On one hand, we've got classic Autopilot. This was built to handle complex, hybrid environments that have a million moving parts. On the other hand, we have device preparation. And let me tell you, this newer method absolutely shines in cloud-only Entra-joined environments. It is custom-built for small to medium-sized businesses and managed service providers, where standard user devices are being shipped directly in their boxes straight to the end users. It's all about being streamlined for simplicity.
But hey, device preparation isn't some magic silver bullet. There are exact limitations where you absolutely must stick to classic Autopilot. If your organization relies on hybrid joining devices to an on-premise domain, if you need white-glove pre-provisioning, if you use self-deploying mode for kiosks, or if your security compliance demands super strict device naming conventions, well then V1 is still your go-to in those complex scenarios. Classic Autopilot is very much required, and it isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, let's get into the practical stuff with Section 3, setting up device preparation. The groundwork for device preparation is actually shockingly simple. It all starts with creating two security groups in your Microsoft 365 Admin Center, one for your devices and one for your users. But, and listen closely because this is vital, there's a non-negotiable step here for the device group. You must set the owner of that device group specifically to the Intune provisioning client. If you skip that ownership assignment, the dynamic routing just won't work at all. Once you've got that done, you just create your user group and toss in the employees who are getting the new devices. Next up, we dive into the Intune enrollment section and actually create our device preparation policy. This is where the real magic is configured. You target that user group you just whipped up, and then you configure the out-of-box experience. Most importantly, you can easily just check a box to block local admin rights so your user stays a standard user. Then, you just assign the exact apps, think Microsoft 365, Firefox, VLC, and the specific PowerShell scripts that absolutely must be installed before they ever see that desktop.
And get ready for a collective sigh of relief from IT admins everywhere. You can finally say goodbye to hardware hashes. With classic Autopilot, you know the drill. You had to extract and upload this massive, complex hash just to pre-register the device. Device preparation removes that headache entirely. No more hunting down gigantic text strings just to get a laptop ready for a new hire. It's a real game changer.
So you're probably wondering, how does Intune know the device belongs to you without a hash? Well, instead of hashes, you just upload a simple corporate identifier CSV file. And this file? It only requires three basic pieces of information: the manufacturer, the exact model name, and the serial number. That is literally it. It is incredibly straightforward and makes onboarding freshly purchased devices vastly simpler for everyone involved.
Now, before we look at the actual user experience, our source material takes a brief moment to highlight their sponsor, ConnectWise RMM. They note that while Intune is fantastic for handling the initial provisioning, tools like ConnectWise are often used right alongside it to automate Windows and third-party patch management. It gives you customizable patch policies and dashboard monitoring to ensure that once these shiny new devices are deployed, they don't suddenly turn into vulnerable endpoints just because they missed a few critical updates.
Let's look at this from the other side in Section 4, the end-user experience.
Picture this. Your user boots the new device and connects to Wi-Fi. Initially, the laptop has no clue who it belongs to. But the second the user types in their Entra ID credentials, the system checks that serial number against your handy little CSV file. Intune dynamically drops the device into that secure group we made earlier. Then, the user sees a "Please wait while we set up your device" screen. This whole process takes about 10 to 15 minutes as it pulls down the management extensions, the scripts, and those required apps. The user finishes up by setting their Windows Hello PIN, and boom, they land right on the desktop. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Speed versus Certainty. When we compare a standard Entra-join-to-device preparation, we really have to look at what's actually happening at the finish line. Sure, a standard Entra-join might win a stopwatch race. The user definitely gets to the desktop much faster. But what happens? They arrive at a completely empty screen, basically twiddling their thumbs while background policies and applications slowly, painfully catch up. Device prep, on the other hand, intentionally slows down that initial login. The boot is slower, for sure, but the user arrives at a fully functional workstation with their browsers, their Office apps, and their scripts already perfectly in place.
As our source summarizes it so perfectly, device preparation is not about stopwatch speed. It is about certainty. It's the absolute certainty of an employee landing on a fully prepped desktop, ready for work on day 1, minute 1, without needing to frantically call the help desk because an application hasn't magically appeared yet.
So, I want to leave you with a final thought from our explainer today, something to really chew on with your IT team. When you're designing your deployment strategy, what is actually more valuable to your business? Are you prioritizing a super fast but completely empty login screen? Or are you prioritizing the absolute certainty of an instantly productive end user? The tools are definitely there. The choice is yours. But knowing the difference? Well, that's everything. Thanks for exploring this with us.